لبيك يا ابن فاطمة، لبيك يا نصر الله.
سبيل الله، دربنا درب السعادة. لبيك يا نصر الله.
تفضلوا تفضلوا تفضلوا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد بن عبد الله، وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، وصحبه الأخيار المنتجبين، وعلى جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين. الإخوة والأخوات، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أرحب بهذا الحضور الكبير والمهيب في احتفال اعتزازنا وافتخارنا بالشهداء، بكل الشهداء الذين اجتمعنا اليوم في حفل تكريمهم وفي حفل تجديد البيعة لدمائهم ولأهدافهم. اليوم نحن نحيي ذكرى هؤلاء الشهداء، شهداء المقاومة الإسلامية في لبنان، شهداء حزب الله، شهداء السرايا اللبنانية لمقاومة الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، شهداء.
This big number of your presence to celebrate the lives of our martyrs, all the martyrs which made us to have this meeting, the day that we celebrating the day that we are to them, giving our loyalty to them. We are today here to remember those martyrs who are the martyrs of Hezbollah, or martyrs who fell for defending our country against Israel, and martyrs and civilian martyrs, and in the hands of the Zionists and their partners. We get to, first of all, to the families of the martyrs from the Lebanese and Palestinians, and we tell them to their family, the martyrs, that they got this medal from the God, and they have given their loved one in between their families, and such as their brothers, husband or son, and I hope the God will accept from all to all families of martyrs in Gaza Strip and West Bank, all those who have given martyrs in this war, in this flood, Aqsa flood, and which is open in many fronts, more than one front. And the martyrs, and after a few days we will have the Day of Martyrs. Those martyrs, those who won big wins, and we are going to recite some verses of Quran in their name for them and for their families. And to make sure that they went to the place where they supposed to, and no, and God says, Allah says on those who fell for the God, then they will go to heaven, and those who
If you're joining us now, we are listening to the leader of the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, who is addressing those listening to his televised address. There, the pictures you're seeing are from the Lebanese capital, Beirut, as Hassan Nasrallah addresses those crowds via video link. You can see him on the stage appearing there, well, via video link at the front. It is the first time we've heard from the Hezbollah leader since this war began on October the 7th. Let's see if we can go back in and hear him again.
The fighters and the victims and the martyrs of the civilians.
في معركة اليوم على وجه الأرض، لو أردنا أن نبحث، دائما كنا نقول هذا في الماضي، لو أردنا أن نبحث عن معركة كاملة الشرعية من الناحية الإنسانية، من الناحية الأخلاقية، من الناحية الدينية، لن نجد معركة كمعركة القتال مع هؤلاء الصهاينة والغزاة المحتلين لفلسطين. هذه معركة لا غبار عليها على المستوى الإنساني.
Our martyrs and their families as well. And we are saying that your family members are fighting this war on the earth. If we wanted to look for a war with all the rights in the field of humanitarian, or ethically, morally, and religiously, you can't find a war the one which you fight against the Zionists in Palestine. You can't find any other war on the basis of humanity and morality, and this is the clearest and the best way to fight for the God. That everybody should know this. Today we are talking to the families of the martyrs, that the whole world heard them and heard their position. The families, they have given their loved one to the God, and that's our real force, and our real force is this belief and this And this duty in believing in our cause and to give sacrifice for this. And we have prepared to give unlimited sacrifice. We are prepared to give all for. And I have all the respect for the nation and for the people of Gaza, and which we saw them on the TV screens, how man and a woman or a child comes out, and the rubble and their house were demolished, and all they gave everything for the resistance and for the residents of Palestine. And that is our main force, and that is the nation which are prepared for everything, and they have to their and their beliefs and their steadfast staying. And we also want to say to the West Bank and everywhere, and my brothers and sisters, today I'm going to concentrate my speech on what had happened. We would like to explain our position, and we distribute the duties. Let's speak about Lebanese environment, and we'll talk about the rest about later. We at the beginning we have to send our gratitude to those who supported and helped, and even internationally or Arabic world, and those nations who helped, and we have to mention and then the Iraqi force and Yemeni force who participated in this war. Yeah, brothers and sisters, why this situation got to this and to the 7th of October and the operation of Aqsa flood. And they must have said we have to mention it, so we have to clarify it for the whole world that the suffering of the Palestinian people for decades in the past, but the situations in the last few years, it was very hard, particularly with this cabinet, which is very right-wing, and there are 4 ways are very. And first was the prisoners. There are thousands of Palestinians are in the prison of Israel, and some of them they spent most of their lives in the prisons, and this right-wing government, and with their stupid minister, their lives human rights is very bad. And the second case is the Quds in Jerusalem, and particularly the last few weeks when it led to the Al-Aqsa flood in Thalithan and the siege on Gaza. There are 20 20 years, the siege is continuous. There are more than 2 million people that are living in a very small area, and they have very hard life. And the fourth, and the danger, and the latest dangers which threatens the West Bank, and where's this radical government, where just they are killing our people daily basis, and they're arresting on daily basis, and on the there's no one in this world to ask, no United Nations, no Security Council, no Arab League, no European Union, no other countries who's known in the world. And the Palestinian case and what's happening in Palestine and all these things were forgotten. And in the exchange of that, the politics of the enemy was just persecution. This Zionist entity they need to open all these human cases, and they need to open the case of Palestine to the whole world, and they have to open it from the beginning as the first case in the world. And that's the operation, the best operation, the biggest, greatest operation, which happened on the 7th of October, which was done by brigade, Qassam Brigade, and the rest of the movement and resistance movement continued. This operation, this great operation, this sacred operation was 100% Palestinian, and it was implemented by Palestinian 100%. But the owners of that, they hid it from others, and that's because that's what made this operation very successful. As you know, that the battle are still carrying on. As opposing to those who thinking differently, and those who the resistant movement, and that was the only condition for the operation to be successful, and there was no any negative side of this operation, and they couldn't do any other way apart from what they did. And the brothers from Hamas, they proved that the right identity of the battle and closed the road from the enemies, particularly.
Well, we were hearing there an impassioned speech from the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, the first time we've heard from him since the Israel-Hamas war began. A couple of points that he brought out, trying to set the 7th of October, the attack that he said was Hamas, that was 100% Palestinian, and that the Palestinians, that Hamas hid it from their allies like Hezbollah. So essentially saying that he, Hassan Nasrallah, wasn't aware of that 7th of October Hamas attack. Let's bring in John Sparks, who's our international correspondent and who's in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. John, you're in Lebanon. We saw there scenes of those in Beirut listening to Hassan Nasrallah speaking there. Really interesting that he was at pains to put what happened on the 7th of October within a much greater context of the plight of the Palestinian people for decades before.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think really at the moment we're getting the introductory remarks from his, what he describes as a talk. He said that he would go on to explain what has happened, what Hezbollah is going to do in the future in relation to this conflict, and what Hezbollah's responsibilities are. So I don't think we've really got to the meat of his speech, to put it with those words, described in those words. We've just come from where Hezbollah are holding a large rally in West Beirut. It's really the stronghold, a community called Tahrir. They have invited thousands and thousands of people to a schoolyard to come and hear the remarks from Hassan Nasrallah. Important to say that he's not actually there. It was pre-broadcast. They're now playing it to the crowd assembled in Tahrir, and he hasn't actually appeared in public by our reckoning at a large gathering like that since 2011. Very rarely seen in public, probably on safety grounds, for fear of being assassinated. But a large crowd there. They will welcome, they will praise, they will celebrate his remarks. I think of that we can be absolutely sure. A couple of other things that I picked up from his speech. He spoke about the martyrs killed in South Lebanon. Important to say that Hezbollah is actually fighting Israel at the moment on the border that they share with Israel. It's a very limited, constrained conflict at the moment, both sides targeting each other, but it has been deadly for Hezbollah. They have lost 50 fighters so far. So he praised the martyrs, he sent commiserations to their families, and he praised the martyrs in Gaza as well. And I think this is interesting. He is styling himself as a voice. He is a Sunni from the Sunni sect of the Muslim faith. He's styling himself as a leader of all Muslims, both Shia and Sunni, and the Palestinian cause is of crucial importance to him. He was putting it across. He called it the perfect battle against Israel, and he asked God for the acceptance of martyrs in that battle to be received into heaven, where there is, he said, no America, no Israel, no murder, no killing. That again will go down very well with his supporters in Tahrir, where they hold their stronghold. I think what we're looking out for is his comments on where he thinks this conflict is going and where he thinks and how he thinks Hezbollah will respond. Do they move from this limited campaign to something more like all-out war? And I think it's important to say he's not the only voice here in Lebanon. There's a lot of people who disagree with him. He is the most powerful political and military figure in this country, but he's not the only one, and there are an awful lot of people in this country who do not want to go to war. This country's seen a whole lot of political and economic shocks over the last couple of years, so people will be listening very, very carefully as he continues his speech.
Yeah, thank you, John. And we will be coming back to this with some more analysis later on in the hour. Let's take you straight over to Tel Aviv. Mark Stone is there for us. And, of course, Antony Blinken, US Secretary of State, back in Israel. We know certainly that the National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby was saying that they would be listening very closely, Mark, to what Hassan Nasrallah had to say. I know we're nowhere near the thrust of the speech yet, so we're only getting those opening remarks. But I wonder what you make as well of Antony Blinken being back in the region.
Well, I think I've got to keep my voice down because we're just awaiting Mr. Blinken turning up now. But I think perhaps the reason that his speech has been, or his press availability, as they're calling it, has been delayed for quite some time is because he too wanted to see and listen to what Hassan Nasrallah has to say. We are expecting Mr. Blinken to be here at that podium in the next 5 minutes or so. He has had meetings this morning with the Israeli Prime Minister, a private meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, before going to meet the Israeli War Cabinet, a round-table discussion with them, and a separate meeting with the Israeli President Herzog as well. So it's been a very busy day for America's top diplomat. From here, he will head east to Amman in Jordan, where he's expected to be part of a foreign ministers meeting. In fact, he's just taken to the podium now, so let's listen in.
Good afternoon, everyone. Days after Hamas's attack on October 7th, I came to Israel, followed soon thereafter by President Biden, to make clear that as long as the United States stands, Israel will never stand alone. Today, in my 4th visit to Israel since October 7th, I reiterated that in all my discussions with Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Herzog, the Security Cabinet. I reiterated and made clear our support for Israel's right to defend itself, indeed its obligation to defend itself. That includes through the additional assistance that we've worked with Congress and we're working with Congress now to provide for Israel's defense, as well as for urgent humanitarian needs in Gaza. This right to self-defense, indeed this obligation to self-defense, belongs to every nation. No country could or should tolerate the slaughter of innocents. You've heard me speak to some of the stories that Israelis have experienced on October 7th. Today,
هذه دولة تملك قدرة الوقوف على قدميها التي تحتاج إلى هذا الدعم الأمريكي وإلى هذا الحشد الغربي الأوروبي، رؤساء جمهورية، رؤساء حكومات، وزراء دفاع، جنرالات يأتون من كل أنحاء العالم من أجل الدعم المعنوي لإسرائيل. ماذا فعل طوفان الأقصى بهذا الكيان وبقادة هذا الكيان؟ النقطة اللي بعدها، طبعا هاي النتائج، هاي التداعيات، هذه الآثار يجب أن تشرح، يجب أن تبين. طبعا أنا لا ما عندي وقت أشرح. يجب أن تبين لنعرف أن التضحيات القائمة الآن في غزة وفي الضفة وعلى كل الجبهات، نعم هذه تضحيات مستحقة، لأنه يمكن في ناس هلا عم بيقولوا يعني حماس والإخوة بغزة كانوا عاملين هالحساب. نعم، هذه الإنجازات وهذه النتائج وهذه التداعيات تستحق كل هذه التضحيات، لأنها أسست لمرحلة جديدة من الصراع مع هذا العدو، أسست لمرحلة تاريخية جديدة من مصير الشعب الفلسطيني ومصير شعوب المنطقة ودول المنطقة. هذا الأمر الذي حصل في طوفان الأقصى، ولذلك هو يستحق كل هذه التضحيات. ولم يكن هناك خيار آخر، وليس هناك خيار آخر. الخيار الآخر يعني السكوت، الصمت، الانتظار، انتظار الموت، انتظار ذهاب الضفة، انتظار ذهاب الأقصى، انتظار المزيد من الحصار، انتظار موت الأسرى. ولذلك هذا الخيار كان صائبا، سليما، صحيحا، حكيما، شجاعا، مطلوبا في وقته الصحيح وفي وقته المناسب، ويستحق كل هذه التضحيات. النقطة اللي بعدها، كيف تصرف العدو تجاه حادثة 7 تشرين وطوفان الأقصى؟ كان واضح من الساعات الأولى أن هذا العدو كان ضائعا وتائها وشاردا، لأنه تعرفوا يوم سبت وليلة عيد وهي كان طبعا التوقيت العظيم اللي تم انتخابه من قبل المقاومة. كانوا الجماعة يبدو كلهم نايمين لأنه كل الليل سهرانين وسكرانين، وليس فقط في غلاف غزة، حتى في تل أبيب وفي القدس، لأنه إلى ساعات لبين نتنياهو وبين جالنت وبينوا الجماعة فايقين من النوم، في حالة ذهول، في حالة جنون، في حالة ضياع، في حالة غضب مع جنون. ولذلك عندما ذهبوا لاستعادة المستعمرات في غلاف غزة من أيدي المقاومين الفلسطينيين، هم الذين ارتكبوا المجازر بحق المستوطنين الإسرائيليين، وليس ما يتهمون به حماس وبقية فصائل المقاومة. وبدأت الآن أصوات ومقالات وتحقيقات في داخل الكيان الإسرائيلي تقدم شواهد.
Hamas who went to inside Israel and they gave martyrs inside, and when they, if this, and when there will be a real international investigation about what had happened, when they say that the civilians were killed by Hamas, it's not true. And all right, in Gaza, and what the enemy had sustained, and that shows that the enemy are not getting any experience from their mistakes and from their loss, and they will not get lessons. And they are not getting any lessons from their lessons. And as regarding their fights with the resistance movement in Lebanon and in Palestine, in Lebanon 2006, and in Gaza the same way and same thing. The biggest mistakes they committed in the past, and they're committing it now. They cannot get their highest objective. That when they said we are targeting that, eliminating Hamas, but sometimes they say that we eliminate the government of Hamas, and always they say we are eliminating the military wing of Hamas. Then when they realize that there are a lot of family hostages, then the resistance movement were prepared to release them without any conditions. No one was. Never Israeli government successful in the past in freeing their hostages in Lebanon or in Palestine. Never. They have to negotiate, and they were trying to eliminate Hezbollah, and they had Americans and some Arab countries with them. And what they did, they couldn't even get the two hostages which they had, and they fought 33 days for. And today in Gaza is the same thing, and the amount of the crime and the killings they are doing, and they are trying to commit genocide in there, and there are many thousands of martyrs. But at the end, and the Lebanese people resisted, and then they prevailed. And today, what happens in Palestine, in Gaza Strip, and it shows that the stupidity of Israeli, what they are doing. They are killing people killing kids, children, and women. Most of the martyrs are children and women, and the vast majority of the martyrs are from the civilian. They are ruining schools, hospitals, church, mosques, and they have no respect for anything. They are destroying the whole neighborhood full with people. Does that need the best air force in the area, in the region? Do they need the best military in the region to do these things? Most of the militaries, they have airplanes. The same thing when they went for land invasion, and they started displacing people and killing and martyring a lot of people. And the resistance continued, and all this did not affect on the resistant movement, and such as in the areas and Aita and in other places, and they sustained a lot of losses in their ranks, and they are warning that because they are scared, and because they are, and even the next steps, and that's the braveness of the Palestinian fighters, resistant fighters. When a fighter gets on a tank, on top of the tank, where can you find this kind of braveness and army in the region or in the world? And that's where they have fear. And since 75 years ago, they are committing massacres after massacres. That's what they did in Palestine and in Lebanon. And this is, they want the leadership of the resistance to show their white flag but we are telling to those Zionists and those sceneries where we saw children and women and elderly when they came out from under the rubble, and that tells you that the result of this war will be prevailing the Gazans, Palestinian. And my brothers and sisters, the next point, what is all this happening in Gaza Strip and all the world are seeing, and that clarifies one thing for us, that first, that it shows us that the evilness of this entity, they planted it in our region in Palestine. Well, since 75 years ago, they have started all these wars. They brought all these wars on against Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, and all these years where they tried to show to the Arab world and Islamic world that there is a country near you which is that's a country which is democratic and which respects human rights. But today the victims and the victims of Gaza, the children and women, all those shows that all those they were saying in the past, they are lying. It was big lies, and that's to show to the whole world and Arab world to know that they were, and that they should not be quiet about these entities. We have to clarify about that the U.S. involvement and they are to be blamed for whatever is going on in there, and all these massacres, they are to be blamed as well. The first day, President Biden came and said to the authorities, Israeli authorities, that you have the right to defend yourselves, and most of their countries, and those countries who are believing in human rights, and they are taking a excuse, which is lie, that Hamas are beheading children, which without any proof, and where there are thousands of children are getting martyred, and they're losing their heads in the bombing, and now it showed us that the real face of the world and the world which rules this, all those countries who my brothers and sisters, and what is happening today. And today, it's United States is to be blamed what is happening in Gaza, and on their people, and Israel is only a tool. They are using it, and American United States, which is there, they are against of ceasefire, against everything, and like the Imam Khomeini said, they are the Shaitan Akbar, which means evil, big evil. And they have to be taken into accounted for, and what they are doing against people in the region. Because of that, and that's why the resistance, Islamic resistance in Iraq, they have attacked American base, and both in Iraq and in Syria, they have, because the Americans are who are there, they are running the war in Gaza, and they are paying for the costs of that war, and in Syria, and this is a big decision for the leadership of the Islamic parties in Iraq, and this is towards independent Palestine, and we are grateful, and we are sending our gratitude to those who are doing that. My brothers and sisters, the next point, it is a duty of every person, every free, loving person, to know all this, and which is happening in the war, and which misrepresenting and making all this lying, and let's talk about the real victims and children's they getting killed and in front of the cameras of the whole world, which is this is a war between the right and the wrong, and this is heinous what they are doing, and to defending on Gaza today, it is a human thing to do. Who takes and everybody who speaks, who participates in protesting, what's this? This is the duty of every single person who is freedom loving people, and everybody who is think it's honor and dignified, they have to take the duty to defend this cause. On 1948, when the Palestinian people, they gave the prize, and all the nations in the area, they gave prize for what had happened in 1948. And it was not only on Palestinian, there were on Jordanians, on Syrians, on Lebanese. But Lebanon is got most sticks from that region from the Israelis. Today is the same thing. Today, what is happening in Gaza, it is not the war like other wars. It is not a battle like other battles. It's a special, and it is not like before at all. And it is on all to take responsibility and to have objectives, and we have two objectives. First objective is we have to work day and night and to stop all this aggression on Gaza. And the second objective, that Gaza to win, and to win and to prevail, and even particularly Hamas to prevail in, and they have to, and we have to help Hamas to, and first her objective is to stop the war and stop aggression because of the humanitarian and religion, and this is not for negotiations. And the second objective is all those who are listening, which is in the interest of everybody, all. First of all, it is in the interest of Palestinian people and all Palestinian people. But there are people here, they are playing with lies, with fakeness. And they think if Gaza wins, Iran would win. But if that is not minimizing the situation, it is not the prevailing of the Palestinians. That means prevailing Palestinian people. That the win in Gaza means win for the whole Palestinian, and for the region, and particularly for the country surrounding, or the neighboring countries. The prevailing the Gaza today, it is in the interest of Egyptian nation, as well as Syrian nation, and it's the same. And the prevailing Gaza means the nation of Lebanese nation. What it would mean if that the resistance movement loses in that battle or war, in it will affect in long term, and then the enemy would threaten Lebanon and Lebanese people, but the Gazan resistance movement, they are fighting, and that will give us. And my brothers and sisters, the responsibility is the whole world. The countries and the Arab countries and other countries, they have to stop the aggression against Gaza, and should your religion, your humanity, you should make you to ask to the aggression to stop, and you can cut your ties, call back your ambassadors, and stop sending oil, gas, or food, anything to Israel. Stop trading with Israel. And even Arab countries, they should stop sending oil to Americans. And we are calling to Arab countries and Islamic countries to stop sending oil to Israel, and stop all exports to Israel and whatever you are exporting to them. And we have 22 Arab countries. We cannot take out a wounded person out from Gaza, or sending a truck with humanitarian aid to Gaza. And our brothers from Gaza, our brothers in Gaza are asking Arab countries, don't send your military forces, just make sure that to open Rafah crossing and help us with our injuries, to take them, and we are calling upon all those dignitaries in Arab worlds. Just we need to help children of Gaza. Just make sure open the Rafah crossing. We have to say this. I do not want to go to we have to be hopeful, positive. And I mean, regarding the resistance movement, the Islamic resistance in Iraq, they have taken their own responsibilities, and they went to, and the brothers in Yemen, and the Yemeni army and Yemeni people, and even though with all the threats which on them from Americans and Western threats, and they have sent rockets and their drones, even though they were hit and did not this time did not arrive there, but next time it will arrive in Palestine, and I have all my respects. We in Lebanese front, they asking us to participate in, but we have started participating in this war on 8th of October. Islamic resistance movement in Lebanon started, and we on Saturday we got the information like everybody else in the world. Next day we started operations in areas Nazar Sheba, and we have started our operations through all the Lebanese and occupied territories and borders. Some people, maybe those who are expecting and wanting Hezbollah to enter this war and let them come to the borders and to see that of course it is not enough. It is not enough, of course. What happens in the Lebanese front? It's never it's unprecedented since 1948 to Israelis that if on the borders of Lebanon with the North Palestine, all the military positions in the area were targeted by our forces and on daily basis and all the way to the sea, and we were targeting all those their military machineries, tanks and their machineries and their military and all their the Islamic resistance movement in Lebanon are participating in that war since the 8th of October. It is a real battle which is unlike all the other wars in such as 2006 or others, in the names and in the targets and in and that's why we have given a huge numbers of martyrs and those who were on the front, on the front. I mean, 7th of October, I mean, just after the Aqsa flood, they have started to withdraw their forces from the borders. Let me explain to you what had happened when we have sustained some martyrs in the Lebanese mountains, when we gave 57 martyrs, including some from Israel-Palestinian, and including those, plus those from Sarakut. What they got from that, first of all, on the 7th, at Saturday, the enemy started withdrawing their forces from the border. That's because they were in losing mind. They wanted to take the whole entire army to Gaza, and they were withdrawing all the forces from the North Palestine and taking to Gaza, and they called for reservists. And the operations, which started day after day until yesterday, forced the enemy and not now. Yes, they have decided to bring back the forces and to reinforce that area with the north of Palestine. That's why we're saying the Lebanese front that it affected on an Israeli army, because they had to send a lot of force to that area, and that made them not be able to use all these forces in Gaza. And if just our position were just to be supporters, and we let Israelis in peace in the north borders, but Lebanese front and that's I can explain how many brigades, and we to needs that's a lot of explanation. I can tell you in a simple language. I can tell you that 1/3 of Israeli army is on the border with Lebanon. That is one. And a big part of this, and a very important part of this force, which is on the border, it is it's in the border, which is a very important force, and there and there are other marines and other forces, and we can say that half of the missiles are faced towards Lebanon, and 1/3 of other forces which is facing now Lebanon. That made the Israelis to have reduced forces to use it for Gaza. and the displacement of tens of thousands of people, Israeli, from the border regions. In the north, there's 43 settlements. 43 settlements were emptied and were evacuated. And in the south, around 54 settlements were evacuated in Gaza area, around Gaza. And the Ministry of Finance of Israel and mentioned that they are under a lot of pressure, financial. And what is happening on the border, Lebanese border, that made big fear on the enemy's forces. And they are anxious that front could escalate into a war, and this could happen, and the enemy make all the calculations about it, and they spoke about it, and we read and through all the medias, Americans and European and even Arabic. And this is consequences of making the enemy anxious. And the enemy has to calculate their steps very carefully towards Lebanon in the future. And today, the enemy are responsible, and they are calculating, and this operations in our front and our presence in that front, and that make our enemy. And otherwise, all we heard that the defense minister and other ministers, and they were they not scared, they would have attacked Lebanon as well. Were our martyrs, and in the north and in the south. And we are saying, if the enemy starts to attack any Lebanon, any area in Lebanon, they would make the stupidest mistake. Where we say our Lebanese look at the Gaza. We have seen these sceneries since 1948. This is not first time to see these sceneries and these massacres. Contra these sceneries in Gaza, that makes us more steadfast and resistant, and we will not give in. We will not surrender, no matter what they are doing to us. And the second thing which happened through that operations, that what they are doing to Gaza, and in particular with operations, and they are calculating everything for that. And what they are, and that an enemy sustained a lot of loss in material and human, and all these happened with our martyrs and their blood, and families, our people who are still there, and those who are, and they are displaced, temporary displacement. And this battle, these operations needs our solidarność with this, with Gazans and with this cause. And in the case of the madness and on the enemy's leadership. And here we are arriving into the very important point. And everybody knows about the front in our. They have told us from the first day, if you open any. Well, we will. An American warplane will hit you, and they were told us more than once or more than one day, but and we were threatened that American warplanes would come and bomb you, and there will be other new groups. Hopefully, these threats will not change in our position at all. That is why we have started our work in that front, and these escalations and escalation of that front will depend on 2 points. One, and will be under the destiny and the escalation of the operation in Gaza, and it depends on what is happening in Gaza. And the second point, which is of our escalation of our front, which is the moral of our enemy towards Lebanon, and that was take us back into the and the morality of our enemy towards Lebanon depends on that escalation of that front. And I'll say it with all the transparency, and in our front all the options are open. And all the options are open to us, and we studied all the options, and we must be ready for all all the options which could happen in the future. And I'm going to say to the Americans that the threat on us and on our resistant movement, it would not be fruitful. Nor on the movement, resistant movement, nor on the countries who resist. And we have received that America would not just bomb you in Lebanon, but they will bomb in Iran as well. And the threats in our area would not be fruitful. The warships in the Mediterranean will not scare us, and we were not frightened of this in the past. The warships which you have brought and you are threatening them with us with it, we have even weapons to deal with them. We have means to deal with them. And you took your Americans and you fled from Afghanistan in early 80s. Your defeat in 80s, and all your grandchildren will never forget about that, what you have faced there. If the American policy and the Western policy and that's not, it is not right to threaten the resistant movement on the countries, and the first thing you should do to stop aggression on Gaza, and Israel is working under your leadership and will listen to you. You have to stop this aggression on Gaza, because this is your aggression. And we are calling on Americans and the others. You have to stop aggression on Gaza. And if I'll warn you, if the war starts in the region, your warships will not help you, and you are going to be the last defeated, no matter what you have. And today the whole world asking, in the name of those victims' blood, in the name of the civilians, and in the name of the churches and hospitals, and in the name of all the humanity and the moral dignity, they have to take stand, and so in order to stop this aggression. And my brothers and sisters, I'm saying this for my brothers and sisters in Palestine, and we are fighting and steadfast, and we still need time so we can be, and we will win with points. That's how the resistance in Lebanon, we and that's how the resistant one in Gaza, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, the steadfasting and patience, and that's what the enemy doesn't have. And people, they're getting out under the rebels and they say, long live the resistant movement. There are people prepared to give their lives for the resistant movement. Can you see any people like that in anywhere in the world, like Palestinian? The battle is a battle of steadfasting and patience and defeating the enemy and stopping the enemy to get to their point. And we have to do to Gaza to win and the resistance win. First of all, I would like to set my beliefs in that I have beliefs in God and we are fighting for the sake of the God. We are fighting for this God, and that's how we were in the past, all past wars. And I'm personally, my personal experience, and with His Excellency Imam Khamenei, we have met more than once these days, and we know that the Gaza will prevail and Palestine will prevail. Then when he said to us that you are going to win, I am saying to my people in Gaza and even in West Bank, all the Palestinian people and all those people who are resisting, and all those souls and hearts on Palestinians in Gaza, in everywhere. And our steadfasting and what we give, what we are prepared to give, and all we give, and the result of this will be prevailing in hopefully, and that day we will celebrate our martyrs and waiting for Gaza and people of Gaza and resistance of Gaza, and peace be upon you.